Good morning, everybody. You are all very welcome to our webinar this morning, Men's Mental Health Stronger Together, presented by Killian from Mental Health Ireland and in partnership with the Irish Men's Shed Association. So it's great to see a good number of attendees joining us this morning for this, I suppose, very important discussion. It's a very topical conversation we're going to have, good discussion points throughout, and just delighted to be partnering with the Irish Men's Shed Association to have this conversation. And I'll be introducing the panelists in a couple of moments, and you will have a great chat amongst around men's mental health. So Killian is my own name. I'm the development officer working with Mental Health Ireland, and I cover the Midwest region, Clare, Limerick, and North Tipperary. So the focus on the team stronger together is really important because I think it's all about connection, because when we connect, we feel better, and when we support each other, we remind ourselves that none of us have to face various challenges alone. And I'm just really delighted to be joined by the Irish Men's Associations, Rebecca, Ben, and Kevin, who are going to talk about what the work of the Men's Shed does around Ireland. And I think with the sheds itself, they create spaces where men can come together, share skills, have a laugh, and find friendship and belonging. So we'll get more information from the panelists in a short while. And I think it's often around these conversations that over a cup of tea or while working on a project that men can open up and support each other along the way as well. So just a bit of housekeeping around today's webinar. There is a Q&A button at the end of your screen or on your phone or your laptop. And if you'd like to ask any of the panelists questions throughout, please either preload some questions, or even during the panel discussion, you can input a question into the Q&A button, and hopefully you'll be able to answer it towards the end. We're here for about 45 minutes with the whole discussion and the panel as well, and we'll try to get to the questions if some do come in as well. So it's just really nice to be here this morning, and with the ongoing partnership with the Men's Shed, there is with the Sheds for Life program that Rebecca will talk about a little bit in a while. Mental Health Ireland would have a mental health component around the 5 ways to wellbeing in the Sheds for Life program. So that was kind of the beauty of this partnership on this webinar as well. So I will move on to the next slide. So the aim of this webinar is to build an understanding of mental health and well-being for men in helping support connection, purpose, and resilience. So it's a really good aim to kind of keep us focused for today. So a little bit of background on Mental Health Ireland. So we're the longest running national mental health charity, established in 1966. So our tagline is educate, empower, and connect communities. So I'm one of 10 development officers working around the country. So I cover the Midwest region. We have peer and recovery education staff working across Ireland as well. So we co-produce all of our modules and our workshops. And what co-production means is that we get a range of different stakeholders, maybe people who have used the mental health services, their family members, care supporters, staff, and community partners, all working together to create our modules and workshops. And it really makes a meaningful impact for people to be involved from the get-go, to make, I suppose, the workshops important for people that are going to be attending, but meaningful for people that are going to be taking part in the workshops going forward as well. And it makes more important outcomes for all people involved as well. So we work with volunteers across our campaigns. So we have many campaigns across the year. So this month we have Mental Health Month, which I'll explain a little bit in a second. And then our mission, which I'll draw your attention to on the right-hand side, is to educate, empower, and connect communities, creating a culture where everyone is treated with respect and supported especially when our mental health is challenged. So it's a really, really important mission for Mental Health Ireland, just for that, what I've explained there. So that is a little bit about Mental Health Ireland. So then, like I was saying, Mental Health Month then, over the course of the last month, we have been running webinars, we've had workshops, we've had different talks around Ireland as well. So our webinar series has been ongoing over the course of the month with different various webinars, and they are all on our Mental Health Ireland YouTube channel as well. So this one as well will be recorded and put up on our Mental Health Ireland YouTube channel. So we have a fundraiser happening over the month, which is called Move It. So it's about 60 minutes of movement any day in October, and I'll have more information on that towards the end of this webinar. together. So we have an online events brochure as well on our Mental Health Ireland website, which is a what's on. So what's on over the I suppose the month that has passed and what's upcoming over to the remainder of the month as well. So you can look on our website for that as well. So I'm going to draw your attention to what is mental health. So it's a Mental Health Ireland definition of mental health. So I'll read it out. So mental health is an essential part of being human and our overall well-being. It helps us handle everyday stress, find purpose and meaning in our lives, learn new things, build good relationships, and deal with challenges in a healthy way. And it also plays a big role in helping people, families, and communities thrive. So that's a really important, I suppose, definition because I think learning new things is key to life, building good, meaningful relationships, and being able to cope with different challenges that come our way, and I suppose being able to overcome the setbacks and challenges that we face. And I think it's a really nice definition, I feel. So that's just the definition for Mental Health Ireland. So with that, I'm going to explain a little bit about the 1, 2, 3 of mental health. So number one would be around the relationship with yourself, around your confidence and self-esteem. Number two then would be around the relationship with others, so positive social interactions and communications. And number three then would be around the ability to cope with life's demands. So I often ask the question in workshops, how important is the relationship with ourselves? And does it have an impact on our relationship with others? And then our ability to cope with life's demands. So for example, if our relationship with ourselves is really good and we have good confidence, it's going to have a good impact on our relationship with others, our social network, our family members, loved ones, our communities as well. And then we might be able to deal with setbacks or challenges that come our way when we're in a good frame of mind and we have our own, I suppose, healthy coping mechanisms and strategies that we use to stay well and maintain our mental health well-being. So what happens on the flip side of that is if our relationship with ourselves isn't the way we want it to be, we're low on confidence or self-esteem, it could have an impact on our relationship with others, how we connect with people. And then I suppose it can have an impact on our ability to cope with life's demands, and we might have lower resilience around being able to cope with the challenges that often come our way as well. So I think it's a really nice one, the 1, 2, 3 of mental health to look at as well from time to time. So the importance of the relationship with ourselves and the relationship with others and our ability to cope with stresses and the life's demands. So the 5 ways to well-being, many of you may have heard of it before. So it was evidence-based from the New Economics Foundation in 2008. And I think it was just simple actions to look at people's mental health and well-being and what they can do, simple actions. And I think it's still relevant to, we're in 2025 now, to this day, how important the 5 ways to well-being is. So the first one is connect. The second one, be active. Third one, take notice. Fourth one, keep learning. And the fifth one is give. So I'll give a little explanation around the 5 ways to well-being because we do a lot of our workshops around this framework. So connect could be around our connection to ourselves, connection to our community, connection to nature, connection to our friends, family, community, whatever that looks like for the individual. Be active then could be around getting physical activity, could be around housework, gardening, yoga, and all that kind of stuff that's again unique to the individual. The really important one that I like is to take notice, is being present in the moment, taking notice of nature, taking notice of the things around us, and just taking a step back and taking a few deep breaths and appreciating the day that comes before us. The keep learning piece then is around, I suppose, maybe different things that we do that we can learn, reading books. It could be education, it could be different things, it could be something that you're attending today, like this webinar, that you're learning something new around men's mental health. And then the last one then is give. So giving to others around, I suppose, doing charity work, doing random acts of kindness for other people as well. And that is really important because I think giving to others has a positive ripple effect on yourself And I often say in workshops as well, like when we give to ourselves and give to other people, the I suppose the positive impact that can have on our mental health well-being is so big that it goes unseen at times. So giving to others could have just that positive impact on someone's day or week. So that is the 5 ways to well-being. And now I'm leading on to the panelist, Ben, who's going to come in and explain a little bit around the Irish Men's Shed Association. So Ben, welcome. If you'd like to turn on your camera, it's great to have you here and
Good morning,
appreciate you
Killian.
taking the time. So I'll leave it over to yourself for a couple of minutes if you want to explain around the Irish Men's Shed, and I'll come back then in a second. So thanks a million.
Brilliant. Thanks, Killian. And listen, I just want to say first, it's a great honor to be here this morning. Thank you for having us on, giving us a chance to actually come and reach out to new audiences. So thanks very much for the opportunity, Killian. Yeah, my name is Ben Dolan. I'm the communications officer for the Irish Men's Sheds Association. I'm going to give you a little bit of background, a little bit of the sort of what sheds are, what they do, and lead you into the sort of health aspects of the work that we do, and the our health program, which is called Sheds for Life. So the Irish Men's Sheds Association represents some 465 sheds in the Republic of Ireland, another 56 sheds in Northern Ireland. So we operate on an all island basis. The average age of men's shedders, the shedders, what we call the men in sheds, is 65. But that's kind of it sort of gives a funny picture, because when you consider that our oldest shedder is over 100, that means that our youngest shedders are actually in their 20s. So there's an idea that a men's shed is kind of this old fellas drinking tea. And to some degrees, it is old fellas drinking tea, but there's more going on than that. There's sheds who are, have bicycles. There's sheds in. There's one shed that's a hacker space that are into electronics. There's a shed down in Waterford, in my own corner of the country, where they repair cars. So there's a lot of things going on in men's sheds, and we estimate that some 9 or 10,000 men a week visit their local shed and participate in activities there. And in fact, Ireland does have the highest number of men's sheds per capita globally. So a little bit of the background of a men's shed, just in case you don't know what it is at all. They started in Australia some 30 odd years ago, and I think it's really important. They were started to combat isolation, in the big areas of Australia, and to tackle loneliness, essentially. So in a way, the idea of mental health is kind of baked into the men's shed movement, because it has become a movement. It's now a global phenomenon. The first sheds in Ireland appeared in around 2009, around just after the crash, where you had a lot of men out of work and probably wouldn't be going back into work. So the sheds mushroomed at that point. And the association, we represent these sheds all around the country, and we give, I suppose, supports what we think of as a kind of nearly a scaffolding for the activities of the shed. So the shed is a space, a social space, where men come and meet. They meet either just for social activity. There's lots of other activities, as I've said, going on. A lot will have workshops. Horticulture is a big thing in sheds. Skill sharing is massive, where men come and do this work together. And as you mentioned a bit earlier, Killian, that the idea is that men don't talk face to face often. When they're involved in activities and they're doing stuff side by side, they're much more inclined to sort of start talking about about stuff that they mightn't have talked to anybody about, you know. So the association, and as I said, we give a kind of a wrap around a scaffold for these activities for social, the physical, psychological, emotional wraparounds, and the men. Um, what men find in a shed are many things. You know, there's a big element of camaraderie, of just social contact. Often is the biggest part of the shed. But there's lots of things going on. Skill sharing is a big thing. You know, in the workshops and that. Um, New learning things, that there's lots of different classes and courses that men will get involved in, whether they be art or technology or indeed horticulture. Again, learning all these things which help with you know, a positive aging, growing old in a good way. And I suppose the other element that's big in men's sheds is that community element. Is that not only are sheds and shedders involved with their communities, but the shed becomes a kind of a connector, if you like, that sheds become involved with other community groups like the tidy towns, with schools, with other clubs, and they become a connector for communities. So they strengthen community ties within, you know, within an area. I'll pop on to the next one, Killian, if you don't mind. Uh, and I'll talk a little bit about the, I suppose, the healthy aspects of men's sheds. So our kind of approach, we don't impose anything. We don't really go in and push things into sheds. It's really much more about what we call health by stealth, which is that with the shed essentially creates a space. It creates this environment where men can come and follow their interests and indeed have a social and ongoing social activities with other men. The 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 reason that it's gender specific, that there is men's sheds, I suppose the uh, simplest way to explain it is that, you know, the figures show us that men do have a harder time dealing with their mental health. They have a different approach to the health system. Um, you know, the figures are frightening, that 4 out of 5 suicides are male. So there are, I suppose, cultural and other factors that make men's health slightly different, and that's why men's sheds are important, and why we deal specifically on that gender, um, why we're gender specific. Um, so what we do is we try to come and build on the shed, on the environment, which is already health inducing. So we'll bring in programs and partner with people, with Mental Health Ireland, with many other partners in our Sheds for Life program. And it'll be designed, it'll come from the shed up. We'll talk to the shedders and they'll decide what aspects of the program that they want to take on, and it'll be very much designed around the needs of men. Because one thing that you'll find, and I'm sure the others will say it as well, is that each shed is quite unique. It's no two are exactly the same. You know, they're as individual as nearly as the men who make them up. But in saying that, um, you know, we work in a collaborative way with the shed. We'll design the program and bring it in on dependent on the needs of a shed and those men. So Sheds for Life, yes, is our flagship program. It is it's given over 10 weeks, and it's within the shed. Um, People will come in and sheds will often do the program together. So they'll meet in different sheds. Will come to one location and do the different modules of the program. So whether they be there's exercise is often a big thing, you know. Healthy food made easy is another one that food and nutrition is a one that's asked for quite a lot, and indeed the Mental Health Ireland building well-being is also a very popular as part of Sheds for Life, and men get a lot out of this 10-week program. We also sort of design it so that there's ramp ups and ramp downs, so that following the program there are other activities that men can keep up, you know, like the healthy food and those things men can keep going with themselves on a shed by shed kind of a basis. Bring me up the next one, Killian, please. Yeah. So our health and well-being team, the aim is to engage with sheds and shedders to explore and fulfill the health and well-being potential, and we do that through, as I've said, through different partnerships and projects in different disciplines, designed and built for the needs of the shed, of the shedders, and of the particular community in which the shed exists. So we do the 10-week Sheds for Life program, and then often the exercise parts, the healthy food parts, the mental health parts, even things like mindfulness, which is a very popular thing within sheds. Yoga has become a very quite a large thing. These activities then are, you know, they're integrated into the uh, everyday living of the shed, which makes it, I suppose, stronger for within the shed, but also strengthens those community ties as the sheds interact and engage with other community groups. So that's the shed in a nutshell. Um, and I think we're going to have a few questions about the sort of things that go on in a shed. And if you want to bring me up, is there one more to go there, Killian?
Yeah, this is the next slide on the panel discussion anyway, so that's
So you'll be finding a few important things about what goes on, and indeed why the men's shed is such a valuable and such an effective sort of a third space. We think of it as a place that's neither home nor work. It's some place that men can go and have, you know, meaningful relationships uh, and be well, develop their mental health and new skills. So I think I'm gonna
yeah.
hand over to the panel there now,
That's
Killian.
brilliant. Yeah, thanks
Thanks
a million,
very
Ben, for
much.
that breakdown on the Irish Men's Shed. I think it's great just to get that background and the variety of men's shed that is around nationally as well, and how they can connect in different communities and strengthen the community ties with different organizations or groups or tidy towns that you mentioned. Horticulture, really, really good. And health by stealth is really good as well. And just how mental health is baked in is really, really important. So thanks for the breakdown on that. I much appreciated. So this is the next piece of the webinar is the panel discussion. So I'm just going to invite Rebecca and Kevin to turn on their cameras and say hello. So Kevin, you're very welcome. And Rebecca, nice to have you here. So just before you begin and introduce yourselves, this is what we're going to talk about for the next couple of minutes. So what happens in a men's shed, the mental health benefits, and how does someone go about joining a men's shed? And then we'll have some first-hand experience of being a shedder from Kevin as well, who'll talk about his experience within the men's shed. So I'm going to stop the share so I can see the panelists' faces there. So that's perfect. So Rebecca, will I pose the first question? Thanks for coming along. If you want to
Thank
do a
you.
quick intro and then I'll ask you the question, will that be okay?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna be talking about what happens in a shed. But just before that, thanks, Killian, for inviting us today to be part of building an understanding of mental health and well-being for men. Um, it seems like a kind of obvious thing to say, but not all men are the same. And to give context to the particular cohort we work with older men. You're considered older if you're 55 plus these days. And we work, I think the oldest shedder I met in a shed was 102, which is extraordinary. So there's a big age range, and more younger men are coming into sheds. But really, as Ben said, and there will be a bit of overlap with I'll be picking up, and Kevin will pick up as well what Ben said in different parts. But um uh, really we're dealing with generations of men, 60s, 70s, 80s, who may potentially have complex relationships in terms of their own health and their relationship with formal health structures and services. There may be issues and complexity around their help seeking. And also the concept of self-care can be complicated for these generations of men. Um, there's also, understandably, and Ben touched on this, a particular social, cultural, and historical background um, to the generations of men we work with. So, in terms of this partnership, Mental Health Ireland has been a long-standing partner and collaborate specifically on Sheds for Life, which Ben spoke a little bit about, which is our flagship 10-week program. We are supported by Healthy Ireland to run two sessions, spring and autumn, and we engage men, as Ben said, with a whole range of exercise, food, and nutrition components. And one of the key components that every single man gets to do is a mental health workshop. And we tweak that and we review it, and Mental Health Ireland and ourselves are constantly looking to improve that and how we respond to need through that workshop. IMSA also support the Hello, How Are You campaign, which we love every May, and we like the idea of being stronger together. And we feel that partnership is part of that. We share many values as two organizations, and that's why we work so well together, I imagine. Um, and we both have a big focus on connection and community, the two words that everybody's probably going to go away with today: connection and community. Um, I read in Mental Health Ireland's own annual report there that over 90% of people say spending time with or in community benefits their mental health. And sheds are spaces where this takes place. The best way of describing a shed, what happens in a shed, they are informal community spaces. And as Ben said, each shed is as individual as the men who go in. Um, and there are probably some misunderstandings about shed. What happens in a shed? Am I too young for a shed? Is it just old blokes sitting around drinking tea? Really, sheds and what happens in a shed is dictated by the members. It's a group of men coming together to focus on a specific activity or a range of activities, and that could be anything from beekeeping to boat building to biodiversity or climate projects. Um, they're probably the thing that, amongst the diversity in activities and spaces The one thing that is common to all sheds is connection. They are about connection. They offer spaces really for men to continue to contribute at a time in their lives when a lot of the shedders are looking into retirement or have indeed retired. And a whole range of men come in. You can continue to learn, you can learn new skills, you can share existing skills and knowledge. Men can continue to grow and connect within the space. So I always think of them as very transformational spaces as well. They're spaces for growth and continued growth as we age. So they're very positive spaces.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rebecca. It's great just to get the breakdown of what happens in the shed and just the connection and how important that is as the transition in life and everything else, retirement, and yeah, it's great. So I suppose the next question I'll pose to you is, what are the mental health benefits in going to a shed? Would you like to cover
Yeah,
that? Thank you.
as Ben said, like we would see sheds as providing kind of all round wraparounds. Whether it's social, whether it's psychological, whether it's physical through exercise, lots of sheds of walking groups and do lots of activities. I think the key thing really is each man is able to get what he needs on his own terms in a shed. And that is really, I think, at the core of sheds. I think everybody loves a story, and to illustrate this, um, I visited a shed last year, and I sat beside a man who was taking part in a meal. So this particular shed many sheds do this. It's a lovely thing. One are every week or every 2 weeks, they'll throw a bit of money in a kitty and they'll all sit around and share a meal together. And I sat beside a man who told me that this was the highlight of his week, because it was the one chance he got to sit with other people and eat around a table and break bread. And it's a lovely illustration, that story of how sheds can bring people together. But that man was clearly getting what he needed from the shed. But if you ask another individual in a shed, they will equally tell you another story about what they get out of the shed. So really, we see sheds. What are the benefits in terms of mental health? Antidotes to isolation, depression, loneliness. We hear Ireland is now, of course, one of the loneliest countries in Europe. In particular, I'm highlighting three things. I think happiness, I think connection, which has a number of unique characteristics, really, the connection in a shed. Tricky conversations happen while men are doing other things. And the shoulder to shoulder piece is something we talk about all the time. Issues, worries can be shared with each other, shoulder to shoulder. The second piece of connection I think that's really important in sheds is the peer-to-peer support. It's highly unlikely you are not going to come across in a man in a shed who is not going through or has gone through some kind of experience that you might be going through yourself. And I think the peer-to-peer support of sheds is enormous. And the other aspect of connection is what's said in the shed stays in the shed. It often feels like to me, it feels sometimes like a bit like a therapeutic space. It's very safe, it's non-judgmental, it's respectful, but also there's safety in sharing your worries or your fears. Um, and the other aspect really of the kind of mental health piece with sheds, I think for our generations of men, it's something about meaning and purpose. We hear very, very frequently men tell us what it means to them in terms of giving them a focus and a purpose, whether it's gets me up out of bed in the morning or it's giving me another focus after coming out of a life of 30, 40 years of working or whatever. And even more frequently, we hear, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the shed. And that's a very powerful thing to hear, you know.
It's brilliant. Great, Rebecca, and even just what you're saying about like dictated by the members and created on their own terms. I just love that. And even the happiness that it can bring, the connection, the meaning and purpose, all such important stuff that you're doing as well. So it's great. So before we go on to Kevin, I might just ask you, how does someone go about joining a men's shed? And then we'll move on to Kevin to get his experience.
Yeah. What we experience with this is often the biggest challenge or barrier is that first step of knocking on the door and pushing open the door. I mean, often men are introduced by somebody else who's in a shed, but there's plenty of ways in. And, you know, we're on our website, you will see, you know, 465 plus sheds, but it is often about finding the right match in terms of your interests, in terms of what you might be interested in. So we always suggest visiting a few sheds, have a chat with one of our volunteers, and I think we're going to share link a link there to our volunteer network. So we have volunteers in every county, and they are our kind of eyes and ears on the ground. They're the backbone of IMSA, really, and they have a very good idea about sheds in the county, and if a man is interested in a particular thing, if it's woodwork or whatever, gardening, they tend to know which kind of shed would be a good match for a man. So there's lots of ways in, and our information officer as well is always there to have a chat with anybody who has an interest about joining or finding a way in.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks for all that information. It's great. So hopefully someone can take that on board and join and find the right fit and the right match for a men's shed that they can attend as well. So that's great. So Kevin, you're very welcome. I'll
How you
pass it
doing?
over to yourself. So thanks for joining us this
Yeah,
morning on the webinar. So the question, if you want to do a quick intro, the question I'm going to ask you is, what has the men's shed done for you? So I'll pass it
yeah,
over to
yeah.
yourself. Thanks a
Um,
million.
yeah, it's interesting what Rebecca was saying there about joining the shed. I can still remember approaching the shed door and walking in and being met by a very friendly face, actually. But it was actually it took some courage, I suppose, to actually do it. But the welcome was there, and I think in all sheds there is that same welcome. Uh, um, but one of the thing is when I was joining Shell, I was leaving the world of work and a job and getting up in the morning. I was, you know, it was a place to go. Actually, it was, and it was also work as well. It was a part of going to work. It was going to work, getting out and going to work, and I found that was the very good thing about it. It was a place to go, actually. Um, Again, Rebecca was talking there about woodwork and metalwork, and I have two hands, and they're no good to any skill or any trade. But yet I found within the shed, I found my place there, and I ended up as a secretary. But nevertheless, it was actually the you know, one of the things about the shed was it was the social side of it. It was very important, the social side, but also a social side, and also involved in the community. Sheds are very much involved in community in with the local tiny towns, and you know, in my shed, you know, we make desks, you know, um, window boxes and planter boxes and desks for local schools and groups. But it was within that kind of shoulder to shoulder and it is, I think, I like the phrase shoulder to shoulder, because face to face, men, we don't do that too much. But if it's the shoulder to shoulder, we're talking away, we're doing something, and we start chatting and talking, and the social side of that. And I think that is incredibly important in mental health. And I've had some of the most extraordinary conversations with people, with men in my shed over many different issues. And also mental health comes into that too, because well, in my case, I've come through cancer, but one of the things that actually came after that was the mental health issues. And the shed actually was able to great to be able to chat and talk about that within the shed. It's very much the conversations, and the nature of some men's sheds, I think, too, is because it tends to be sometimes an older group. We always start talking about our ailments and our problems and how many tablets we're using each day. But as well as that, I think within that is very much kind of the well-being. And I noticed one of the things that you mentioned there in that slide on well-being was this concept of giving. And within the men's sheds, we give to each other, but also we give to the community. And I think that's a very important part of it as well. In general, I wanted to think of a word that that can describe what a men's shed is. And to me, it's a happy place. It's a happy place. And people actually, and the laugh and the joke and the banter and the serious conversations as well. It's all part of that, of what makes a men's shed. That's my understanding of and experience of men's shed. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks a million, Kevin. Just to hear from yourself, your experience in the sheds as well. It's just lovely to hear that. And the happy place is just great. And the connection you've made and the conversation you've had and the links to your fellow shedders in your community as well, and the links to the communities for the tidy towns. And yeah, it's just lovely to hear your experiences, and long may it continue as well, just going forward as well. That's building more connections within the sheds as well. So thanks for sharing the last couple of minutes. So I'm conscious of time, and we just have a couple of more slides just to share, and a wrap up as well, just on signposting. So if Ben wants to turn on his camera as well, and I'll get the slides up there on the next one. So bear with me now. I think it's just been a really positive conversation. Let me know if you can see the slides there. All good on the 5 ways to well-being? Yeah.
There you
Next
go.
one, sorry.
Yeah.
Coming up there now. So just thanks, Rebecca, thanks, Kevin, and thanks, Ben. We'll come back to you in just a second for the final wrap up and the signposting. Like I was explaining at the start with the 5 ways to well-being, I think what we've discussed really captures the 5 ways, with the connection of the space within the men's shed, the connection to other people, being able to share and having meaningful conversations, from someone maybe transitioning into retirement, the life changes that can happen. So the connection among men is, and in that sense, is really important, and the connection to the community. The be active piece, I know it was Rebecca that mentioned the walking groups that happen. I'm sure there's various other activity groups that happen within the men's shed as well that keeps people active as well. And the taking notice of the things that are in the sheds, I suppose, of the woodwork and all that Kevin was mentioning as well, just that the projects that people do as well. And the learning piece, I'm sure every single day is a school day in the sheds as well, just about learning something new or teaching your skills that you have to someone that's new coming into the shed as well. And the giving is the last piece, that I suppose giving back to the community, giving back to others who may be just starting off in the shed, or people who have been there for many years as well. And that was kind of the consolidation of wrapping up this with the 5 ways to well-being, because I think we covered a lot of those 5 ways in this discussion over the last couple of minutes. So I'll go on to the next slide. And Ben, would you like to come in on this one? Just a bit of signposting then for yourself. Thanks a million.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Gillian. Yeah, it's funny how the two things do intertwine, you know. And we've got that line that's on the cards and everything. There is a role for every man in a men's shed, you know. Anybody can find a place, and there is a place. There's something to do, whether, you know, whatever your skill set, wherever you've been coming from, or whatever your history, there's a space for in a shed for you. So look, the ways to get through to us, as Rebecca mentioned, that we have an information officer, we have a helpline there. It's 0818 900 800. You can give that a ring. Regular office hours, kind of 9 to 5. You'll get somebody on there. On our website, menssheds.ie, there's a lot of information about, you know, joining a shed, about starting a shed, in fact, because there's still a lot of sheds are starting up. We had 20 plus startup sheds this year, which is really, really healthy. There's a shed map on there that you can go on, you can find the sheds in your area. And indeed the volunteers, volunteers are a massive part of what we do. They're so core to the men's shed movement, because literally they are on the ground in the counties. So you can get on our website, menssheds.ie, and it's shed support volunteers. You'll find all that up there as well. Thanks, Killian.
Brilliant. Thanks a million, Ben, for all that information. So do check it out. The websites are there anyway, if you want to have a look. And I'll just go to the next slide, just a little bit about Mental Health Ireland's workshops. So there is step 1, which is engage with mental health, an introduction to mental health and well-being and the 5 ways to well-being model. Step 2 then is expand your well-being toolkit. So looking at stress management and a deeper understanding of mental health and well-being. And then the third one then is talking about what matters. Navigating mental health conversations, meaningful conversations about mental health, and that'll be launching pretty soon as well. So, and this QR code will take you straight there to which just takes you to our Mental Health Ireland website on our training section of the website. So you can find out more information. If you'd like to book on to any of our workshops, feel free to reach out on our website, because there's a booking form as well on the website. So our next campaign, I'm talking about Christmas already, is a lovely positive campaign. So again, it's in the lead up to Christmas, where there's different resources on our, will be, I suppose we're still through Mental Health Month in October, and this will be the next one coming up in December. And so lots of resources will be up online, probably starting in mid-November, leading into December as well. So there'll be more information around that, like different things and donations as well, and resources. So that is the end of our webinar. There is a QR code for an evaluation just there on the screen, but this will be sent out, the evaluation plus the recording link, which will be up on the Mental Health Ireland YouTube channel, as I was saying at the start, will be sent out to all that has booked on to the webinar. But if you'd like to leave an evaluation on this webinar, because it just helps us improve and progress on future webinars, and it would just be great to hear your thoughts on this webinar itself. But more information as well on Mental Health Ireland is just mentalhealthireland.ie. And yeah, I just want to thank Rebecca, Kevin, and Ben for taking the time to come on. And I just, even if you want to say one word or how you're feeling after the webinar as a wrap up, but I just wanted to thank all the attendees for joining us. Much appreciated for taking the time to join us for the hour, more or less, for this webinar. And thanks to the Irish Men's Shed Association for partnering with us, because it's been great. So it's a really nice, positive discussion around the men's mental health stronger together. So Rebecca, I'll just go to you briefly for a quick second just to say your goodbyes.
Yeah, thank you very much. And onwards in partnership, stronger together.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rebecca. Kevin, I'll go to yourself if you want to say something briefly.
Yes, definitely. I think dementia is one of the greatest movements I've become involved in, and I kind of advocate it. It's a place. For me, it's a place for me to meet. I don't have to meet in the pub. I don't have to meet in football matches or whatever like that. It's a place actually where I can meet other men, similar to myself and different from myself. And I see it. I suppose in itself, it's a community. You know, it's a community of men as well. Without the religious context, if you like to put it that way, it is like a community. And
Brilliant.
as Rebecca said, what happens in the shed stays in the shed.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kevin. You can just hear your passion, which is enthusiasm for it. So it's brilliant to hear. So thanks a million. And Ben, finally, we'll pass it over to yourself.
Yeah, so listen, Killian, just a big thank you from us to yourself, to Mental Health Ireland, and to everybody who came on this morning. It's a pleasure and an honour to be able to introduce and bring Men's Sheds to new audiences and to new people. Sometimes people ask us why do we do this this work, and it's for the love of sheds, you know, the love of sheds. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ben. We'll see all the attendees again soon at the next webinar. Thanks a lot. See you soon.